Welcome to HDTV. You now rocking with your boy.
Do you think LeBron James is up there with the greatest players of all time?
Yes. I will, depends on how you see, because according to the position that he plays, I don't, when people start comparing him with Jordan, then that's not a fair comparison. Because, Jordan's far more superior player and a very, very tough league and very, very, very creative.
Sure.
I mean, that's not taking anything away from LeBron James because he's a great player. But it's not a fair comparison because I think Jordan is much far superior player.
Okay, and just one last question. What was the most memorable game in your entire basketball career?
I would say our first championship against the Knicks when Game 7, when they finally blew that whistle that the season was over. That was my most favorable. Looking at all the banners coming down, because I've played in the finals in college 3 years. In 1986, in the pros, I went to the finals against Boston and we lost. So I've been on the other side for so many times. So to finally climb the mountain, it was my most favorable moment.
Now that was Hakeem Olajuwon giving his take on the GOAT debate. Well, really not the GOAT debate. It was GOAT debate, and then he was talking about comparisons and how you can't compare a player to a player if you just heard that. The thing is this. Hakeem Olajuwon is not dissing LeBron James. I wish these Lebrownie fans stop getting in their feelings when an older player says something, like Michael Jordan talking about how these guys stack their teams and they poach from the other teams and weakens the NBA, which is not competitive. Now, I'm gonna address the Michael Jordan thing right after I talk about Hakeem real quick. This might be a long video, so if you're listening now, this might be a long video. So Hakeem Olajuwon helped try to teach LeBron in the gym. Trying to teach LeBrownie all the time. Teach him whatever he can teach him to make him better. Hakeem Olajuwon is probably the most or one of the most underrated centers to ever play the game. Nobody mentions him in any top 5. And if you do, it's like people look at you like stupid. Because, see, my top 5 is Kobe, Hakeem, Dennis Rodman, Tim Duncan, and Allen Iverson. Those are my 5. And that's the reason why they're my 5. Because, like Dr. J said, it's a personal question. Dr. J picked his 5, which didn't include Michael Jordan or Kobe or LeBron or nobody like that. It was his 5 he grew up loving. And when he left the game of basketball, he still had those guys as his 5. Let me see. Let me see if I could find Dr. J giving his 5. Dr. J picks his top 5 of all time. Okay.
Verizon 5G is here.
My bad. Hold on. Dr. J gives his 5 right here.
Heard that you have a list of the top 5 players in NBA history. Your list. And it omits somebody to me, it's blasphemy that he wouldn't be on the list. But I want you to let the world know what your list is of the top 5 players in NBA history as far as you're concerned.
My top 5.
Yes, sir.
My top 5.
Your top 5.
Well, Stephen, this is an emotional choice. Okay, so there's no analytics associated with it. And as a matter of fact, probably the last 40 years, the last 50 years are not a part of it. Because I made this decision when I was a teenager.
Oh.
You see? So,
Okay.
So I was 14, 15, and this is what I saw. And I saw Bill Russell. I saw Wilt Chamberlain, Elgin Baylor.
Speak up so they can hear you.
Elgin Baylor, who is my favorite, Oscar Robertson, and Jerry West. That became my top 5 as a teenager. And they have remained my top 5. So even as good as the great ones are, they got to be on the second team. They got to be on the third team.
But
that's my first team.
J, Julius Erving, we evolve. We grow. We see more evidence. We expand our horizons. I mean, first of all, I personally am sick and tired of seeing an NBA silhouette in the form of Jerry West. I believe it should be in the form of MJ, Michael Jordan. 6 rings, 6 tries, unblemished in an NBA Finals. Never even allowed the Finals to get to Game 7. So to me, I start off there, and you got Chamberlain and Russell. Doesn't it have to be one of them?
No, it doesn't have to be one of them. It's my top 5. This is an emotional choice. Can I like what I like?
Yes, you can.
If I like apples and you like oranges, have an orange.
But again, he's qualified this by saying these were his 5 favorite players when he was a teenager. Right. Correct? I mean,
they were the 5 best in the game, And when top 5 discussions come up, Mount Rushmore comes up, or whatever, I just step aside because I kind of eliminate myself from being an expert at this. You guys are the experts, quote unquote.
Well, I think you are the expert.
So do I.
You are the doctor. Okay, so give us...
But I'm going to be prejudiced.
Okay, forget about your favorite players and give us your Mount Rushmore. And feel free to put the doctor on there.
I try to stay out of that conversation.
You don't want to...
Yeah.
Okay.
I think there are 2 players who were completely unique in basketball history. Pete Maravich.
He was, I agree.
Present company. Okay? And
all right,
much had to do with
fair.
the route in which
Yeah.
I took, which was leaving school early, 2 years in Virginia, 3 years in Long Island, going back to the hometown. Hint, hint. It's a good thing to do, going back to your hometown.
Right.
Because you can make a difference in your community.
Right.
And the 3 years with the Nets, with a couple of championships there, and with the economic private-public partnerships that we've done in Long Island continuously since that time, going back home was great. So I definitely empathize with LeBron.
That's where we're going to take you there. Yeah.
So basically, sorry for going longer with that, but Dr. J and Hakeem are basically telling you that it's subjective on who you pick. So I don't know why the media is trying to make this a diss when you say that LeBron's not in your top 5. It's like everyone goes crazy. All of his fans go crazy, ready to choke you, and they laugh at you because you don't have him in your top 5. If you have LeBron in your 5, that's on you. But you can't get mad at people and call them hater when they're giving you facts. And this isn't a diss to anybody in particular. It's a diss to those who are LeBrownie fans who are delusional, who let him get away with everything. The true LeBron fans, they'll be honest and tell the truth, like, yeah, man, he sucked here and there, but they're still blinded by the numbers he put up. When it comes to basketball, when we were growing up, numbers were not the biggest thing. If you won the game, that was the biggest thing we wanted to hear. If you said you won, boom, we gonna be like, oh man, how many you dropped? Oh man, I dropped by 40. Oh man, you balled out. But if you lost and you dropped 40, it was like, y'all lost though. Deion Sanders, for as great of a talent as he was for the Falcons, they sucked as a team when he was there. So he could go out of there having 3 interceptions, 2 ran back for a touchdown, but you lost. Nobody cares about a loser. Everybody wants to hear about the winner, who's on top. And that's it. That's just all it boils down to. Hakeem Olajuwon was telling the truth. Michael Jordan is the far more superior player than LeBron James. Even if you put Michael in this era, Michael could play defense and shut you down. He doesn't have to push you or do whatever. He could beat you without the hand checking. How are you going to stop him on the offensive end when he's going off? How? You can't. And I'm not a Michael Jordan fan. And it pains me every time I have to defend this man against LeBron. Hakeem Olajuwon told you, tougher era. You were able to do more. You could knock guys over. You could give guys a forearm and push them using hand checking. Hand checking didn't get eliminated till 2004. So Kobe played in some of that era with hand checking where they were busting him up, pushing him around. So when you take hand checking away, Kobe was dropping 50, damn near 60. And if you put him in hand checking, he still would give you about 30 or 40. Jordan as well. Him and Jordan could give you 50. So if you put them in this era where you can't hand check or push around, they both would drop. Kobe would average about 60 some points if he really wanted to. Mike would have averaged 50. No, excuse me. Kobe would have averaged not that. I say Kobe would have averaged 40. Maybe 60, I would say. I say 60. And Mike would average 50, but Kobe would average 60 and something. In this era where you can't touch nobody, oh man, Kobe would eat this era alive. So would Mike. Hakeem Olajuwon would dominate this era. This era's too soft. And all Hakeem is saying, the teams he played against, like, you got to understand, you had Clyde Drexler, you had Barkley, you had Robinson, you had Reggie, you had Grant Hill, you had all of these guys, Penny, Alonzo Mourning, you had Larry Johnson, you had Sean Kemp, you had Gary Payton, you had Stockton, you had Malone. You had a tough 90s, and then that group in 96 that came in. Those last 3 years of the 90s, those guys was balling. Those guys was balling. So you got to give them their respect. And that's all I'm saying. When Dr. J gave his 5, I believe it was Wilt, Bill Russell, Elgin Baylor, Oscar, and Jerry West. Those are his guys. And then the panel, like Stephen A. No Smith, because this was back on 2014, September 12, 2014 is when this was. Dr. J basically was like, okay, look, you got to understand, like, you can't be trying to have it both ways. Like, this is what I picked. This is my 5. You can't ask somebody what's their 5 and then go to tearing them down. And it's funny how the black sports like football and basketball, you have to like this one person, but you have to hate the other person. In football, I like Lamar and Pat Mahomes. I knew both of them would be good to great quarterbacks when they got in the league. Basketball-wise, I love LeBron his first 7 years. LeBron was a great player to me his first 7 years. He was doing things that we've never seen. And then when he came to a roadblock, he was like, man, I'm finna go form and do this and that, which I don't have a problem with. But when you lose, take the blame. Don't point fingers saying it's this guy. Don't be pointing to your stat line when your stat line is nothing but misleading numbers. And they're empty calories. Like Shannon Sharp would say, if you lose the game or you're down and you're coming back, it's empty calories. Which is the most dumbest thing I've ever heard. But that's how people think. So you have to pay attention to everything that the media wants to make a beef out of. Why would you make a beef out of Hakeem Olajuwon, who's probably one of the nicest dudes out there, and probably, like to me, the best center or in the top 5? Definitely, he got to be of greatest centers of all time. You got to put Hakeem Olajuwon in that conversation. You know, I don't care what you say. But he was a dominant center, and for the, excuse me, and for the media to continuously try to make it about a Lebrownie versus Hakeem is a dumb thing. They always make everything about hating LeBron when nobody is hating him. Hakeem Olajuwon told you. Now people are going to come out and discredit him. Oh, he played in that era though. Okay, and he knows how LeBron played. He said, look, LeBron great, but he's just not on that level. He's an all-time player. He gave it that, but that's not good enough. The media and everyone trying to make these clickbait titles talking about, oh man, Hakeem dissing LeBron James. And it's not. Hakeem just being honest. He being real because he saw real. No disrespect, but he saw the real. So you can't hate on Hakeem Olajuwon for saying how he feels. And all this is a media ploy to keep LeBron's name in the media. And not only that, just to keep his name hot and starting some unnecessary beef, which there's no beef. Hakeem Olajuwon said what he said. Dr. J said it's top 5. Why is everybody mad because Jordan or LeBron's not in it? Come on, man. You can't be doing that. If somebody picks a top 5, a guy may pick his top 5 for stats. Another guy may pick his top 5 for skill. He may pick his top 5 mostly point guards because that's what he liked growing up. You might have a guy who picks the 2 guard, or you might have a guy who picks the center or the power forward position, and they try to basically say that's their 5. You don't know how they look at it. Jalen Rose, he picked his 5. All them guys picked their 5. That's how they feel. You can't get mad because nobody puts LeBron in their top 5. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Michael Jordan fans get mad at me when I say he's not in my top 5. Oh man, what are you talking about? And they go crazy. It's like, okay, Michael Jordan was great. I never said he wasn't. He just wasn't in my top 5. I just didn't like Jordan like that. But was he phenomenal? Absolutely. He was great. He could jump off the screen. The things he was doing since college, man, it was amazing. He was voted the best college player in history. I don't think he is. I think it was Kareem. I think Kareem was the best college player. But everybody, have their own picks and their own opinions. I believe Kareem or Pete Maravich have an argument in that. And I believe Magic as well and Larry Bird. So, and then James Worthy as well. So like I said, you could pick basically who you want. That's your pick. But Michael was great, but he's not in my 5. But we've got to stop getting upset with people and discrediting their facts. Because all opinions are is all facts are is opinions that were proven. And when they went out, they got the information, oh, this is how it is, boom. But it's like people can't agree when they're in an argument, both made great points, but the other person got to discredit that person's point, being delusional. You got to understand when people are going back and forth with you or they're trying to talk to you, they're trying to tell you the real. That if you've seen these guys, I've seen Jordan, I've seen Bird and all of them. And they're just better players. They're better players than Lebrownie. They do different things than Lebrownie. They do what they do. So, like I said, I don't understand why the media is trying to make it a beef. But Hakeem Olajuwon said this 3 years ago. This is old. So I don't know why they're trying to re-bring it up. But Hakeem Olajuwon told the truth. Also, Michael Jordan this past, yesterday or day before, I believe, he told the truth as well. That the league is suffering, which they are. Viewership, everything's down because teams, they're not promoting, at least they're not promoting a player or the team. If you promote the team, you can still promote your guy LeBron, but just promote the teams. So people will watch. So even if those guys don't make it to the championship, you'll be ready. If whatever team comes up, you can pull that commercial. Oh, we made about 5 commercials with this team. And you could put it out there. You could promote those teams. So the playoffs will be interesting. That's why the year when LeBrownie didn't make it for the Lakers, it still was a good playoffs. It was competitive. Everyone was going against each other. But everybody was trying to talk about, oh man, this ain't good. Like the ratings are down. They were down, but they weren't down to the point they are this past year. This past year, they were terrible. So, but Hakeem Olajuwon never said anything bad about LeBron. He said he's an all-time great, and he said that he's one of the best to play. But he just said, man, Jordan's just on another level. He knows. He's not trying to hate LeBron. He's just making an observation. You know? So I don't see the problem with what he said. And Dr. J as well is right. That's my top 5. You don't need to have Jordan, LeBron, or Kobe or anybody in your top 5 if you don't want to have them in your top 5. But don't blast me because I made my top 5 different. That's how I feel about my top 5. So tell me who's your top 5, and do you feel like Hakeem Olajuwon was hating, or was Hakeem Olajuwon telling the truth? I believe Hakeem Olajuwon is telling the truth, and I believe that's how he feels. He knows how to observe players because he works with players and help them in their post game, especially the Houston players. So I'd go with Hakeem Olajuwon on this one, and I go with Dr. J on your top 5 is basically what you picked. And I didn't like how Skip and Stephen A were trying to basically say that's when he was a kid and trying to downplay it instead of just giving him his respect for his 5 and then go to talk about the 5. They should have asked him, why do you have him as your 5? No, they're trying to say, well, we've evolved, and like Stephen A was like, we evolved and everything. It's like, dude, we ain't really evolved. It's just that players now, they're athletic, but they don't have the skills like the older players. The older players knew how to play basketball, especially run half court sets. These guys don't know how to run a half court set good. Maybe a few of them, but back in the day, well, it's not back in the day, but back then it was tough to score, tough to go in the middle. You actually had competitive basketball on both sides, and that's what you wanted. But my top 5, like I said, is Kobe, Hakeem, Dennis Rodman, Tim Duncan, and Allen Iverson. Those are my 5. So let me know what your top 5 is, and let me know how you feel. Was Hakeem hating, or was Hakeem just speaking his own opinion? And what is your top 5? Who do you have as your top 5? Dr. J's top 5 is Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain, Elgin Baylor, Oscar Robertson, and Jerry West. My 5 is Kobe, Tim Duncan. No, my bad. Kobe, Hakeem Olajuwon, Dennis Rodman, then Tim Duncan, then Iverson. So that's my 5, and I just told you Dr. J's 5. Thank you all for listening. Like, comment, subscribe, share. Hit the notification bell to select all to receive upcoming content. And if you want to donate to the page, you could donate to the word welcome, the number 2, and HDII TV. Thank you for listening. We out. Live boy.